this morning. As you can see on your screen, this is our Rehash programs webinar. And when we're talking about Rehash, what we're really talking about is reaching out to those who did not buy the first time and trying to find ways to get them back so that they end up buying from us later on. Sounds simple enough, but as you can probably imagine, there's quite a bit to cover on this topic. So again, I'd like to thank you for joining us. Typically, there's still a few people joining at the top of the hour, but we're going to go ahead and start. This is the, I believe, 7th or 8th webinar in our Remodelers Marketing Essential webinar series. And for those of you who have been on all of the webinars, you get a gold star. Thank you for your continued support. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. The first thing that we want to do is we want to talk about our sponsors for just a few minutes and let you know that without our sponsors, we would not have a webinar. We also do seminars every other month across the country. We were in Kansas City a month ago. Next month we'll be in Baltimore. If you're interested in attending those live seminars, you can also thank the sponsors for making those available to you. The 2-day event is a lot of fun. We cover a lot of ground. One of the topics we cover is Rehash programs, but a lot more than that, obviously. So we are going to hear from some of these sponsors. In fact, we're going to hear from all of these sponsors today. And their commercials are their way of saying, hey, just want to reach out to you. And I'd really encourage you, if you were invited by one of these sponsors, and you were, because that's the only way that people show up on this webinar other than monopolize your marketplace's current customers, I'd like you to reach out to these sponsors via email or phone call and just let them know how much you appreciate their being willing to support this program and make it available for you. So just a couple of housekeeping items. We're going to give away 3 Monopolize Your Marketplace books today. We'll be giving away 2 midway through the webinar. We'll pause for an intermission. We'll hear from a couple of our sponsors at that time, and we'll also do a drawing for a couple of the books at that time. We will also be giving away at the end of the webinar a CD set that is normally sold at $400. It's called the Remodeling Contractor Marketing Boot Camp. It covers basically 10 essential concepts that are crucial for remodeling contractors and their marketing. So we'll be giving that away to 1 lucky winner. So there's going to be a total of 4 winners today, but you do need to stick around to the middle for the first 2 books that we'll give away, and then at the end we'll give away the 3rd book and the CD program. Must be present to win sort of a thing, okay? So let's go ahead and hear from a couple of our sponsors to get started here. The first one we're going to hear from is Dave Wilson at Liners Direct. Dave has been a sponsor of this program for over a year now, and I'm going to put Dave on the line. Dave, are you with me?
I am, sir. Yes, good morning.
How you doing, Dave? Why don't you tell us about Bath Wraps by Liner Direct?
It's my pleasure. Thank you, and it's a pleasure to continue the sponsorship into year 2. A lot of great marketing content, and I urge everybody to pay attention because you don't see this stuff anywhere else. Bath Wraps by Liners Direct is really the best and most unique solution for a dealer wanting to get into the bath business. When you think about bath, you don't think about old school tub liners at motels anymore. It's really accessible bathing. It is tub-to-shower conversion. It is walk-in tubs. We take pride in everything being American-made. We have exclusive dealerships across the country, plenty of spaces available for those in the audience who are interested. I'd love to discuss further with what your geographic area would be. We launch and support dealers like nobody else. We have a lead generation program. It's a lot of fun. It's really getting some buzz in the industry. We generate leads from a variety of sources. I take all the risk. It's on a per inquiry basis. My dealers just pay me for live leads that are warm transferred into their phone room. And last year, over 20,000 leads generated, and the average marketing cost was 9.3%. So wildly successful in our dealers' minds, and we're in year 2 of that and only getting more. Just recently launched walk-in tub leads, which is pretty exciting. As America gets older, 10,000 plus people a day turning 65. That means that those folks are going to be turning 75 in 10 years, and that's hitting the walk-in tub time. So lead gen for walk-in tubs, lead gen for tub-to-shower conversions, American-made product, Silver Shield antimicrobial protection, exclusive territories, lots of profit, one day, one man, one truck install. Doesn't get any better than that. So thank you for the time, and anyone who's interested, linersdirect.com/dealer, or Rich will do a survey later. Just feel free to click on the Bass Traps information button, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, hey, thanks, Dave, and appreciate you bringing that up. At the very end of the webinar, we'll have a poll question where you can choose various sponsors and information that you'd like to receive. That's going to be the easiest way, but you also have the information on your screen. Thanks a lot, Dave. I do want to just reiterate what Dave said. I want you to make sure you understood exactly the ramifications of what he said. Not just what he said, but the ramifications. Let's say that you don't sell this kind of product right now, but it's a pretty good fit for your customer base, what you do. Here's what he's saying. Join up with him. He'll give you an exclusive territory. You'll pay him for leads that are generated only. They are closing at a rate of $9, and I think he said 63 cents, excuse me, 9.63% of sales. This is a no-brainer, guys. And I've been around this industry a long, long time. I've seen a lot of different companies that do a lot of things, and nobody's even coming close to doing that for bathroom remodeling. So, yeah, take a look at that very carefully. And let's go ahead and look at our next sponsor, which is Gutter Covers International. And we have for you Tony Michaels. Tony, are you with me?
I am here, Rich.
Hey, Tony, why don't you give us a lowdown on Gutter Covers International?
All right. You know, I was thinking the other day about the first guy who said there was big money to be made in bottled water. You don't think he got laughed at? Of course, he's the one laughing now. Gutter protection is sort of like bottled water. There's good money to be made, but the specific product can make a big difference. Quality products eliminate callbacks, as you all know. Our company started about 20 years ago. We were the first ones to come out with Gutter Topper, which is now the generic term for gutter protection. We've developed since then a number of different types of gutter covers because there is no one-size-fits-all gutter protection. Different environments needing different gutter protection. We've recently released our heated product called Hot Topper. All the products independently tested and certified. And because we focus on the product testing, because quality products, when they work as advertised, that means no callbacks, no service calls, and of course callbacks and service calls cost you money. So you're in business to stay in business, and that means making money. According to a planning financial consultant group, the average gross profit for trade contractors such as home improvement is anywhere from 23 to 34%. We did a recent survey of our retailer network. The average gross profit margin for our gutter protection products is 65% or higher. We're looking for professional companies in areas across the United States and Canada that might be interested in increasing their bottom line by adding a quality line of gutter protection products. And I realize you got no reason to believe me when I say our products are the best on the market. So because of our affiliation with Monopolize Your Marketplace, anybody who is currently not one of our retailers and you'd like to see for yourself if I'm blowing smoke, we'd like to send you some free samples of our products. We'll pay for shipping, won't cost you anything. You can call our offices and ask for the MYM sample pack. And I'm sure once you compare our products, you'll see a quality gutter protection cover can increase your bottom line and reduce your service callbacks. And again, I would like to echo what they said before. MYM is a great organization that gives you a lot of good information in order to increase the revenue of your business when you work with them. We're thrilled to be able to work with them, and I appreciate your time, Rich.
Okay, hey, thanks, Tony, and I reciprocate that feeling. I know all of these people well, and Tony Michaels, and the owner of Gutter Covers International, Tony Iannelli, they're just real good people. That's why their products are so good. So give them a call, or like I said, at the end of the webinar, you can click that you're interested in that on the survey. Okay, we're going to have one more sponsor, then we're going to get into the heart of the discussion on Rehash programs. This is a sponsor called First General Services. And let's see, Ron. Ron, are you with me? Hello, Ron.
I'm here.
Hey, how you doing, Ron? Why don't you tell us about First General Services?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Rich. And thank you for the opportunity to sit in on this webinar. This is my first time. Michael's usually been here before, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about Monopolize Your Marketplace. For the people on the webinar, my name is Ron Reese, and I'm an owner of a company called First General of Idaho. We operate 3 contracting locations providing property damage restoration, and I've done that for a little over 30 years now. I've got a lot of gray hair. I'm also a partner in First General West and part of this First General network. Property damage restoration is pretty much a recession-proof business. Insurance claims occur every day, and restoring that damage can give our listeners, the people on the webinar, the opportunity to capitalize on their existing construction skills. The business model for restoration is different than remodeling or new construction, but with a few operational adjustments, a successful contractor can obtain more quality business from the restoration industry. Property damages, the thing about property damages is the fact that they must be repaired. The sales cycle is dramatically shorter, and they're usually paid for by insurance companies, so the money's secure. Now, last year, our First General's 80 offices completed over $250 million of restoration work, and that work was at good margins. First General is pretty well recognized and can offer access to new operational and marketing techniques in the restoration industry. So for more information on whether First General is a good fit for you, please visit our website or the phone number on the screen, or use the access system at the end of the program. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, appreciate your time. And Ron, we'll be seeing you hopefully in Baltimore next month. Okay, thanks to the sponsors. Let's talk about Rehash programs now. What is Rehash programs? Okay, so here's the general concept of Rehash. Going back to prospects who didn't buy and trying one more time to get them to buy. That's it. That's a Rehash program. Now, we've got this photo here of this guy. I think he kind of looks like, what was the tennis player that was always angry? John McEnroe. And this is kind of the problem that we typically have with Rehash programs. In fact, I'm going to launch a poll. I want to just get a feel for those who are on the call about your current use of Rehash programs. So let me launch this. Does your company have a Rehash program? Go ahead and just vote real quick if you don't mind. Yes, and it works great. We used to, but we quit doing it for some reason. Sort of. We have one, we don't really use it. No. We've been thinking about it, though, or just no. So go ahead and vote. Come on, the voting percentage is low. Let's get it up. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Wow. I guess it takes about 17 seconds for people to vote. Okay. Give you 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see what we've got. Okay, here's what we've got. 19% say yes, and it works great. And it's funny because that started out when the poll first opened at like 60%, then it went to 50, then to 40, then to 30, then to 20, and then it ended up at 19. You know, this is pretty typical of what I find. Most companies, you know, 80%, 81% are saying, yeah, they have one, and look at the rest. 19% say they have one, 81% say not really. Anywhere from we used to, we sort of have one, we don't really use it. That's actually the most common answer that I get when I do seminars. 12 have been thinking about it, 17 just plain no. I'm assuming everybody's on here because you want to learn more about this. Let me hide the poll information and we'll keep going here. All right, just make sure that we're okay. All right, so let's talk about why most Rehash programs fail. And even if you've got a successful Rehash program, let's just reposition this in your mind a little bit. It says on the screen why most Rehash programs fail. If that seems a little too harsh for you because you're in the 19% to say, yeah, we've got one and it works fine, let's say why most Rehash programs are greatly under-leveraged. And for those of you who don't have one, the word fail is appropriate, okay? The first reason is that follow-up is done exclusively via telephone. This is tough because it's hard to get people to just pick up the phone. With caller ID, they know who you are, and they see you, and maybe they don't call, or you just miss them, or whatever the case is. If they don't say yes, then you're done. So let's say you do get them on the phone. Let's say 1 or 2 out of 10 you do get on the phone. If they don't say yes, you can't really call them back again. If you call them up and they say, oh, you know, hey, I appreciate the call, but, you know, we're just going to pass this time. If you call them again in 2 days, you start to be annoying. If you start to call them again in 3 or 4 days, you start to be a jerk, and it just doesn't really work. It has a very limited shelf life of how long you can do it. Most companies don't have a designated person to do it. It gets neglected. Oh, we meant to do it. Oh, we're going to do it, but, you know, John, who's supposed to do it, is busy and he's out doing something else. People don't recognize the real reason why people didn't buy in the first place. This is the real reason why most rehash programs fail, or they're very under-leveraged. So let me ask you this question. Why didn't the customer buy? That word might ought to be prospect, but you get the idea. Why didn't they buy? You went and you sat down with them, you sat across their kitchen table from them, you gave them the sales pitch. They didn't buy. Why didn't they buy? Well, I ask this question in seminars all the time, and it amazes me that I get every answer under the sun, but I almost never get the actual right answer. Now, all of the answers that I'm going to put on this board right now are good, legitimate answers, but they're not the main reason. So here's the question. What is the number one reason that customers don't buy? Here's some of the answers that people give me. Our price was too high. The person couldn't afford it. Or maybe they didn't like our salesperson, or the competitor was just better sometimes, or my salesperson didn't ask for the order. That's why we didn't get the sale. Not enough information. The customer just didn't get enough information, even though our sales process was, 2.5 hours. Didn't understand the benefits fully. Found the same thing cheaper somewhere else. They didn't trust us. They have other priorities for their money. And these are all reasons that people give me in seminars for why didn't the customer buy. And again, these are okay reasons, but they don't address the number one reason. And if you don't understand the number one reason, then you're never going to put a rehash program in place that's going to actually work and that's going to be effective and that's going to be as effective as it should be. So the real number one reason why people don't buy from your sales presentation, it costs a lot more money than they thought it would. You say, well, wait a second. We just said that it costs too much money. No, this is completely different. Here's what I mean by this. Let's say that you sell windows, and your average window costs $750, and they need 10 windows, so that's $7,500 for the job. Here's what happens. As you come into their house, they have a price range in mind that they think it's probably going to cost to get those windows done. And the average person, I could just ask you. You could answer it out loud. How much do people think that the windows are going to cost? And the answer is more. They think it's going to be less than you're actually going to ask them for. So if your windows are going to be $7,500, their range might be somewhere between $2,000 and $4,000. And generally we find that the bigger the discrepancy between what they thought and what you asked, the harder it is to close people. Now, there's a whole host of things we can talk about from a marketing perspective to remedy that problem on the front end in terms of identity, which we'll talk a little bit about later, in terms of pre-positioning. But the fact is, if the guy thought it was going to be $3,000 or $4,000 and you now ask him for $7,500, that's a massive chasm to cross. And so what people do is very frequently, instead of saying, well, I was thinking it was $3,000 or $4,000, so I'm going to go find somebody to buy it for $3,000 or $4,000, very frequently, assuming that you've got a good identity and assuming that your salesperson did a half-decent job, the person will actually decide, instead of going and buying it cheaper, they'll actually decide, yeah, I want this. I want to buy it from this particular company, but I'm just going to have to wait because that's not something that I was expecting. Or they have to at least wrap their head around it a little bit before they can buy it, okay? You've caught them off guard. It's called sticker shock, okay? So let's take inventory of what's going on after somebody says no, okay? We're going to take an inventory of the good stuff and the bad stuff. First, the good stuff. Out of 100 prospects who don't buy, about 20 to 50% will probably buy from a competitor. 50 to 80% will not buy from anyone yet. Now, a lot of these people will still buy later. Industry statistics say about 70% will buy from somebody later. And the key is, how do we get them to come back and buy from you? By doing nothing is probably not a good plan. So this is good. 50 to 80% will not buy from anyone, not yet. So we can position ourselves to get that sale later. We know that they had a big enough problem to call and endure a sales presentation, and put yourself in the shoes of the prospect and think about what a big commitment it is just to have a salesperson over. So they've got a pretty big problem. We know that they thought highly enough of you to at least give you a shot, even though they said no. So that's positive. And we know that none of your competitors will do anything proactive to follow up. I mean, look at the poll results. 81% don't even try to have a rehash program in place. And your competitors, you can bet, aren't going to be doing anything like we're going to talk about today. So those are the good things. Now, let's take an inventory of the bad things. Number one, you usually don't know which prospects bought from competitors, so you're going to waste money marketing to them, and that really jams some people up. They say, well, geez, if some people bought from my competitors, I don't want to send them stuff in the mail or whatever because it's going to be expensive. Well, this is something that you're going to have to just kind of go with the flow and run your numbers and trust the numbers. If you know somebody bought from a competitor, well, of course, take them off the follow-up list. But if you're not quite sure, then leave them on. Also bad, you can't quickly overcome the number one reason they decided not to buy. By definition, if the number one reason they didn't buy is that it costs more than they were expecting, then any kind of phone follow-up doesn't really address that. It's not because the salesperson wasn't liked. It wasn't because they don't have enough money. You say, wait a second, you just said they don't have enough money. It was more than they thought. I want to make a very clear distinction. If the guy thinks it's $3,000 or $4,000 and you tell him it's $7,500, he very well may have $7,500. But because it's so much higher than he expected, he may have other plans for that money. He may not be comfortable letting that money go. He may want to save that money. He's going to have to take some time to warm up to the idea. Here's what else is bad. Once they don't buy, they mentally give themselves permission to not buy. They consider themselves non-prospects. So in other words, they say, well, I'm out of the market. And when they feel like mentally they're out of the market, it becomes harder to go back and sell them again. Now, I'm going to talk about how to overcome that, but you need to understand this is called human nature. We try to deal with human nature, not buck against human nature, okay? As time goes on, buying what you sell seems less and less important, okay? What does that mean? It seemed really important at the time because they felt like they had a problem, but when they found out that it was more than they expected, then as a month, 2 months, 3, 4, 5 months goes past, then that sensitivity to that issue is going to decrease. This is how human beings are wired, okay? And then the law of 9,344 starts to set in. And here's what that means. People have at any given moment about 9,344 things going on in their life, from the extraordinarily mundane, like I need to buy some new paper plates because we're out, to the extraordinarily important, like my daughter is getting married in a week and I need to get ready for it, and everything in between, from soccer practice to business things to things you've got to get done to what's for dinner. All of these things overcrowd, and when somebody decides that they're not going to buy, then the importance level gets pushed down and other things start to take the attention of the prospect. So we've got to overcome that somehow. So let me give you an example of a window and door company. This is a company that runs about 700 leads a month. Now, you might look at that number and say, wow, we run way less leads than that, or you might run way more leads than that. It doesn't really matter. This is an example, and I want you to run through this with me, because as we go through our presentation today, you're going to see that the numbers, the finances, the calculator, the money, it's extraordinarily critical that you understand your numbers. If you're the kind of person that says, well, I don't really need to pay attention to the numbers, I'm not really a numbers person, that's not going to work for you here. You've got to understand these numbers. It's extraordinarily critical that you're right on top of these numbers. I'm going to walk you through them. So in this example, this is just an example. This is a real company. They run about 700 leads a month. They close about 30%, which means plus or minus roughly about 200 closed deals per month, okay? That means that they don't close about 500 a month. And this is what I want to look at. If you don't close 500 a month, then what? Well, that means you've got a lot of work to be done. That's $6,000 a year that weren't closed. The average sale is worth $2,800 in gross profit. Now, the sale amount is closer to $6,000, but gross profit is $2,800. That's the only thing that really matters, right? That means that you're closing, this company's closing $560,000 a month in gross profit, but losing $1.4 million a month in gross profit. Now, I am not suggesting that by putting this Rehash program, or what you're going to hear me call this multiple times, a hopper system. By putting a hopper system in place, I'm not suggesting that you're going to recover all $1.4 million. But here's what I am suggesting. You're going to start to recover pieces and parts of that, and over time, it will become a significant piece and part of that. The main reasons they don't close, again, not ready, cost more than they thought. So let's talk about how to create a great Rehash program, or again, what I call a hopper system. You're going to set up a marketing system to reach out to past prospects. Now, the word marketing here is in all caps. Why? Well, by definition, most Rehash programs are sales systems. they have a person who calls on the phone and tries to sell that person over the phone. We talked about the limitations and the problems associated with that. One of the reasons that people don't do it, and we've got 80% of you that say we don't, is because you've tried it in the past. We've got 43% that say either you've tried it or you have one but you don't really use it. The reason is because it doesn't work, okay? If it worked reliably, you'd find a way to make it happen, but you don't really find it works, okay? And the reason is we've got to reach out to people via marketing. We're going to use mailers, okay? They're going to do, mailers does your heavy lifting, they're going to do your heavy lifting, okay? We're going to rely heavily on mailers. Statistic from the post office, 98% of consumers bring their mail in the day it is delivered, and 77% of them sort it immediately. It's inexpensive to send. I'll give you more on this later in terms of the money, okay? We're also going to talk about email. I say don't expect too much. The reason is simple, that people, generally speaking, don't really want to hear from you via email. We've got to look at it in terms of what kind of methods are people willing to accept advertising messages. Are they willing to accept phone calls? Wow, that's one reason that rehash programs don't work as well. People hate to be called on the phone. Do people mind receiving mail? No, they don't. They're used to it. It's like TV commercials. Nobody gets all bent out of shape and starts cussing the TV because a commercial comes on. It's expected. It's accepted. And you might fast forward them, but it's not because you're angry. People might not read your junk mail, but they don't get angry when you send them junk mail. Now, email is a different thing. If you send too much email, we'll talk a little bit later about how much email is okay to send. Probably a couple of months is at the most. But don't expect a lot of results from your email. It's too easy for people to ignore it and to filter it out. But it is cheap, okay? And then phone, I'm going to talk later just briefly about this, periodically reaching out to your list and what to say and what kinds of offers to make them, okay? So here's the question. If we have a mailing system and some emails and some phone calls, how many marketing pieces should we send? How much should we spend? How long should you send them for? Now, let me give you a preview of the answer, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a very compelling case for this. Now, let's just pause down here for a minute. We're talking about a process here. We're talking about following up. We're talking about rehash. And I want you to know that this is a topic that is rarely talked about by anybody in the remodeling industry. It's just not talked about. And the reason is because most people just don't understand the numbers. The preview of the answer to the question that is on your screen, how many marketing pieces should you send and how much should you spend, here's the short answer, a lot more than you think. And I'm going to prove it to you right now. So sit down, strap on your seatbelt, and get ready for this because it's going to be a little bit mind-blowing, okay? We're going to draw some conclusions that are going to make you say, wow, didn't see that coming, okay? So here we go. We're going to start here in South Dakota. There's a place called Wall Drug, and here's a billboard for it, as you can see on your screen. And I first encountered this place in 2005. I was on a family road trip. We were driving cross country, headed from one part of the country to another, going to a family reunion. We saw the Mount Rushmore Monument in Rapid City, South Dakota. And then the next day, we were leaving town, and we were heading eastbound on Interstate 90 to go to Sioux City, South Dakota. It's a full-day drive as you go eastbound on Interstate 90, and started seeing these signs like this one that says coffee, 5 cents, Wall Drug, just out in the middle of nothing. Then I saw another one, and these are actually photos that I took with my own camera because I was so intrigued by all these signs. Badland Maps, Wall Drug, 6-foot rabbit. Are your kids bored? Come to Wall Drug, as seen in the Denver Post. Wall Drug, exit 110. Kodak Film at Wall Drug. Free ice water. Wall Drug. Skinny Saloon. Wall Drug. Real Americana. Wall Drug. Wall Drug Mining Company. 5-cent hot coffee. Traveler's Chapel at Wall Drug. New T-Rex. Wall Drug. Wall Drug as seen in the Wall Street Journal. Free coffee and donuts for honeymooners. New Dinosaur. Wall Drug Backyard. Shooting Gallery. New Backyard. Black Hills Gold. Experience Wall Drug. We've got British Petroleum. And it just kept going. We've got bronze displays. Free coffee and donuts for veterans. And I guess if you're a veteran who's honeymooning, you get 2 donuts and 2 cups of coffee. Free homemade lunch specials. And I'm telling you, it just went on and on. Now, we've all seen these kinds of things where companies have multiple roadside signs, but I'm telling you, there's nothing like wall drug. You can name anything, and it's not like wall drug. It went on and on and on and on and on, and it was obnoxious almost. Now, here's what happened. By the time we finally got to wall drug, it was about a 50-mile drive between the town of Rapid City, South Dakota, and the town of Wall, South Dakota, where wall drug was found. About 50 miles. I estimate that in that 50-mile stretch, there was probably in the neighborhood of about 80 to 100 billboards. That's about 2 per mile at 90 miles per hour on the interstate freeway. That's one about every 10 seconds, it seemed like. I mean, it was just crazy. So here's what happened when we got to wall drug. At the time, this was, I guess, 7 or 8 years ago, I had a 6-month-old baby and a 2-year-old toddler sleeping in the car, and they had just fallen asleep because we just left Rapid City, South Dakota. And I begged my wife to let us pull over and see this thing, wall drug, and she refused. She said, look, these kids have 2 more hours of nap in them. We're not crazy. We're not going to stop. So we didn't stop. But that night when we got to Sioux City, South Dakota, I got my laptop out, and I looked up wall drug on the internet. I found what I consider to be the most amazing, most awesome marketing statistic that I've ever seen. And here's what it is. Out of the cars that pass wall drug, take a wild guess. What percentage of them stop? Answer, 70%. Up to 20,000 visitors a day, even more than Mount Rushmore National Monument. 20,000 a day stopping at wall drug. Now, here's the question from a marketing standpoint. Do you believe that the high quantity of billboards, let's call it 100, does the 100 billboards in a 50-mile stretch have any kind of correlation to the 70% of cars that stop? And the answer would have to be, just from common sense, you don't have to be a marketing expert, is of course. So here's a good question for you. What if you were to lower the number of billboards from 100 to, say, 50? Would you still have the same conversion ratio of 70%? And the answer is probably, because there's a thing in statistics called the law of diminishing returns, which means that you could put 1 million billboards, and there's still some people that aren't going to stop no matter what you do. And I don't know how many billboards reaches the law of diminishing returns, but it's probably somewhere between 50 and 100. But ask this question. What if there are only 25 billboards, 1 every 2 miles? Would the effect be lowered, and would people probably not stop? What if you only had 10 billboards? What if there are only 2 billboards? What if there weren't any billboards? How many people would stop at wall drug, do you think? And the answer is, obviously, it's going to be a lot less. So let's talk about why. And you probably would say, well, it's obvious that if you hit somebody with a billboard every 10 seconds, that it's going to make them want to stop. But here's what I want you to understand, and this is extraordinarily critical, that you understand what's on the screen right now. I'm going to go through this. It's going to take a couple minutes to go through this slide. I'm not really one for charts and graphs, but it's really the only way I could think of to communicate this idea. It's critical that you understand what I'm about to say as you start to consider this concept of hopper systems and rehash, okay? So here's what we've got on the screen. We've got a concept called accelerated discontentment, and what I'm going to propose to you is that you can actually accelerate people's discontentment and get them to buy sooner than they otherwise would if you weren't marketing to them, and certainly if you weren't marketing to them with a high frequency. So here's what we've got. At the top of this graph, you've got a red line that says, I've had it. And then down the left-hand side, you'll see it says discontentment. This is rating somebody's discontentment level from bliss at the bottom, I'm really, really, really happy with my situation, to the top, which is, I've had it. It's the red line, okay? That's the left-hand axis. On the right, on the bottom, horizontally, you'll see an axis that represents time. And each of these tick marks going across the screen from left to right represents a unit of time. Let's call it a month. And here's what we typically see. We typically see that over the course of time, a person's level of contentment with their situation will vary depending on what's going on in their life. Now, you say, well, what does this have to do with anything? Well, here's what I want you to know. When somebody first called you to come out and look at their problem and give them a sales presentation on Windows or remodeling or whatever it is that you sell, they had hit a 10 level of I've had it with my windows or my kitchen or my gutters or my bathroom or whatever it is that you might happen to sell, and they invited you over to their house, but when they found out how much it was going to cost, it was more than they expected, they decided that they weren't going to take an action. So here's what happens is over the course of time, the problem does not go away, but it does go down in its intensity level. Now, whoops, went backwards. Here's what we find. Usually people become discontent, in other words, higher on the discontentment scale based on what these exclamation points here represent, which is what I simply call an incident. Something happens in their life that makes them highly sensitive to that issue that makes them discontent, upset, wanting to do something different. Now, this graph could literally be for anything in somebody's life. I've got a guy that comes out and services my pool. Generally speaking, he does a great job. I'm very content with him. I have no thoughts of replacing him with somebody else. His price is fine. But if he failed to show up and my pool got really, really dirty right before a party, that would make me discontent. See, that's an incident. Or if my kids went out to swim after he had shown up and their eyes became really, really inflamed and red and it was very painful and he had obviously put something he shouldn't have in the pool, then that would be an incident that would make me discontent with his service. Or if I came home from a long weekend vacation and found him in my pool swimming with his friends, that would make me discontent. Okay? These are what we call incidences. And here's what you've got to understand. People make decisions to buy something when an incident gets them to the level 10, I've had it area where they can't stand it anymore and they want to take action. Now, watch this. On the bottom, I'm putting pink triangles. These pink triangles represent you're sending them a marketing message, and here's what's going to happen. You're going to accelerate their discontentment. The pink line represents their feeling of discontentment after you've sent the marketing. Now, here's what I want you to see, is if we consistently send marketing, and if you look down here, each of these triangles is about, on the scale, about a month apart. So this represents maybe a monthly communication. It might be an email. It might be a mailer. It might be something, a phone call, something that you send to them. But here's what happens. After 3 or 4 months, when they have this first incident, because you've only been in communication with them 3 or 4 times, their level of discontentment has only gone up by a little teeny tiny amount. It's not that much greater. Now, over time, here's what you're going to see, is their level of discontentment is going to be greater than their baseline level, which is the black line, because you've been marketing to them and showing them that there's greener grass on the other side of the fence, so to speak. Now, here's what we want to do, and this is what this webinar is all about right here, right now. Watch this. We're all about high frequency, which shifts their discontentment higher much sooner, okay? Now, do not take this graph literally. I did not intend to say, well, the ratio is 4 green triangles to every 1 pink triangles. The green triangles are crammed in there as quickly as crammed as I could get them, simply to illustrate you need to have a high-frequency program, because here's what is going to happen. If we do that, look what happens. By the time we get to this first incident at about 3 or 4 months, now what? They are much more discontent. Here's what happens. They become much more sensitive to negative things that happen to them as related to what you sell than they otherwise would have been. And look what we've done. By the time the second incident hits, we've moved them from about a 2-level discontent to a 6-level discontent. When the third incident hits, which was about a 5, we actually move them to 10, and it makes them want to buy. Okay? Now, also what's happening here simultaneously, because these are previous prospects that didn't close, they're also having time to justify the price that you've asked and to gather the funds that you've requested, okay? Justify and gather. Write those 2 words down. Justify the price. You asked for $7,500. They were expecting $3,000 to $4,000. They need some time to justify that price in their mind, and number two, gather those funds. Now, this is an interesting thing, and I want you to understand this loud and clear. This is critical. See these 4 incidences on this screen? This is just a hypothetical example. Obviously, you understand that, I hope. Here's what you need to understand. Your marketing cannot force people to want to do something. What you can do is wait for something to happen. An incident is external to you. You don't cause the incident. You just highlight it and make it more intense in their mind. Okay? So let's talk about kitchen remodeling. Let's say you're a kitchen remodeler, and you called a guy out to give you a quote. And the reason you called him to give you a quote is because you were sick of your kitchen being old and outdated, and you were having people over for the holidays, and you wanted to do something. Well, you were thinking it was going to be about $30,000. A few guys came over that would do a $30,000 kitchen remodel, but you quickly realized that to do the job the way you wanted, and the remodeler that you really wanted to go with was $60,000. That was more money than you were expecting, so you said no. Okay, are you with me? I'm just role-playing this situation. As you said no, you didn't go buy from the cheap guy. Instead, you decided, well, I'm just going to wait. Now, as you're waiting, here's what's going to happen. Incidences are going to occur that are going to cause you to be sensitive about the issue of your kitchen needing to be remodeled. It might be somebody making a comment. It might be a party that you had at your house where people came over and you felt like the kitchen wasn't adequate to get the job done. It might be a lack of storage space. Maybe you bought a new bread maker and you bring it home and you're trying to find a place to put it and you can't find a place to put it because your kitchen's too small and there's no place to put stuff. These are all incidences. And what I'm suggesting to you is that, like the green triangles, if we hit them frequently with marketing, then when they have those incidences, boom, we're going to be there to, number one, push them higher on the discontentment level, and number two, we're going to be the only ones, and I promise you this, you're going to be the only company that's been consistently marketing to them, and you will get the call. You have to nurture them through this process, though. To just cross your fingers and hope is not going to work. You can't just cross your fingers and hope. You've got to be proactive, which leads to the next question, which is, well, how much should I spend? How many pieces should I send? And we're going to cover that, but before we do that, we're going to take a quick break, okay? The first thing that I'm going to do right now is we're going to give away 2 books. And Judy Schaefer from my office is going to tell me who the 2 winners are. Or maybe I'll tell you who the 2 winners are. Oh, are you there? Go ahead. Tell us who the 2 winners are.
I am. All righty. Amanda Eckert with Lakeside Exteriors in Chesterfield, Missouri.
Okay.
And then we also have Gordon Fairbanks with Fairbanks Construction in, I believe that's Ocala, Florida.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank both of you for being on the webinar today. We'll get those books sent out to you via UPS. Those books are normally sold for $25 on our website, but we'll send them out to you for absolutely free. And thank you, Judy, for announcing that. Also, we're going to take just a moment and hear from 2 more of our sponsors. First of all, we're going to hear from Qualified Remodeler Magazine, and that would be Rob Hesselbarth. Rob, are you there?
I'm here, Rich. Thanks for having me today.
You're welcome.
Well, thanks everyone for being here today, and Qualified Remodeler remains proud to be a part of Monopolize Your Marketplace, and Rich Harshaw, and look for Rich appearing in Qualified Remodeler Magazine as a columnist and a blogger on our website. We have 2 main programs that I just want to make everyone aware of going on right now. We have our Master Design Awards. If you have a remodeling project that you'd like to enter to be judged and possibly win a National Design Award, you can do that, and also enter our top 500 ranking of the nation's largest remodeling firms. So if you qualify, typically have revenue of $1 million or more, you should apply, and you can do both of those things at the following website, which is forresidentialpros.com/awards. So it's FOR residentialpros.com/awards, and enter our Master Design Awards or our top 500 listing program. So that's all I have to say, except again, thanks for letting us be a part of this, Rich, and continue on with the wonderful webinar.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Okay, now here's what's going to happen for the rest of the webinar. The first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to talk about Market Sharp, and I'm going to have Tim here in just a second show you how MarketSharp can help you implement a hopper system, because we're really in the business at Monopolize Your Marketplace of helping you create content for a hopper system, and Tim is really in the business of helping you launch and actually execute the hopper system. Before I do that, though, and Tim, I'll get you on here in just 1 second, I just want to preview what's going to happen on the second part of the webinar here so that you've got a good idea of what to stick around for. I'm going to go through the financial model to show you exactly how many marketing pieces you can and should afford to send out, and then I'm going to show you examples of the messaging, exactly what it looks like, the postcards and so forth that you send out, so you can see that. And we're going to do that. But before I get to that, I'm going to invite Tim Mush onto the call here. Tim, are you with me?
I'm here, Rich. How you doing?
I'm doing good. And Tim is going to show you some things about MarketSharp. This webinar really is a great fit for the partnership of MarketSharp and Monopolize Your Marketplace, because like I said just a moment ago, Monopolize Your Marketplace is all about creating strong, robust content. But if you got great content and you don't have a way to get it out the door, that's a problem. And that's where Tim and MarketSharp come to the rescue. Tim, go ahead and take it away.
All right, Rich, I'll just ask you to advance the slides. I just got a couple slides I want to go through here, so why don't you go to the next one? I think the question, Rich, by the way you present this stuff has been great. I've been sharing some of your ideas forever about this, the accelerated discontentment, the wall drug story and all that. It really gets the point across in terms of what this is all about. And as you know, I've been talking about this lead follow-up thing, gosh, for decades now. And fortunately now there are mechanisms and technology out there to really make it work. So let's go to the next slide. How is it possible? And there's a couple ways you can pull this stuff off. Here's one. Imagine you got yourself 30 leads a month. That one company has 700 leads a month. And you're trying to follow up on all this stuff. Yeah, it could look like this pretty quickly. Obviously, that's not the way it's going to work, and that's probably why many of us don't do this stuff. But we think technology is really the way it can pull off. You can pull this off. And fortunately, technology is kind of caught up with some of the ideas that many of us have had over the years. So we think there's an app for that. I want you to go to the next slide, Rich. And, of course, that app is MarketSharp. And certainly that's not the only thing that can help you with this. But we'll just give you some ideas of how technology can help you with this. And then I'm going to turn it back to Rich, and he'll give you some ideas of what you can do and, again, how much financial sense this makes. So we're going to talk about a concept called activity processes. And wouldn't it be nice if we could do all these follow-ups, as Rich is talking about, and pretty much put it on autopilot? And that way it'll get done. There doesn't need to be a whole lot of human interaction, and things can fall apart if you have that element involved. So how about this? How about you have some sort of system that allows you to first off define various marketing processes you want to use. So here's an example of a follow-up process. A demo maybe follow-up process is what we call it. And that's where you do an appointment, they don't buy. So you want to go through this follow-up thing. You want to accelerate their discontentment. You want to like wall drug them with marketing pieces. How can you do it easily? So you can set up these processes with technology. And in this case, as you can see, you got some mail out, email out, calls out, things like that. And then you got them time sequenced out. First one's doing 1 day, second one day. It's an email. And then you got 3 days later, you got something going on at 14 and 30 and 60 and 90. And, you can set this up to really follow exactly what you want to take place. Then you see that fourth column there that says auto send email. There's certainly some email things going on, and those stuff can just be done automatically. So next slide, Rich, and let's talk about something you mentioned already, and what that is really we're talking about multi-channel touches, combination of email, direct mail, and phone. And I agree with you on this concept of direct mail being the workhorse here. And sometimes we think, direct mail is kind of dead, and it isn't. It really isn't. In fact, a lot of people are coming back to it, because they've tried all the bright, new, shiny things that were supposed to, like, revolutionize their business, and it just ain't happening here. So first off, we'll begin with a lead. So you got a lead, and here's an individual that you run an appointment with. First thing you want to do, if you go to the next slide, is result that lead. So let's say with one mouse click, you can go ahead and result a lead and say it's a demo maybe. In other words, we need to follow up with this guy. So you result your appointment, and then go to the next slide. You'll see what's going to happen there. Just based on resulting the lead, automatically, what's going to pop up is confirmed steps of your follow-up process. This might be the 10, 15, 20 marketing pieces or marketing communications you want to get to this individual over the next few months. So you confirm them, and if you go to the next slide, what happens is they all get dropped in for execution into the activities section. So you see the activity log there. They're all dropped in right there, ready for execution. And then go to the final slide. You're going to see they're going to be queued up exactly when they're supposed to be, and they're going to be done for you. So kind of neat. Just with a couple mouse clicks, you get this stuff all done. And one more slide, Rich, get to really kind of a graphic of what's going on here. And the next slide is going to show a whole bunch of things going on. It might be, some email, some direct mail. And who knows, you might even involve Facebook, Twitter, and this kind of deal, phone calls here and there. So you got all this stuff going on. I think we really need to go beyond this thing that our industry has called rehash. We got to go beyond that, because that has come to be known as like a phone call. And Rich is making a great case here to how we got to do so much more. So that's really all I want to say about one single thing that a program like MarketSharp can help with. Going to the next slide, you can see that we do have a program that goes way beyond this. Next slide has a whole bunch of features of what the program can do. It can help you with your follow-up. It can help you with generating leads. It can help you with when you get web leads. We're finding that web leads are so critical to follow up immediately, so you get them dumped into a program like MarketSharp immediately, and then you immediately get your staff members alerted to get to this individual within 5 minutes, because that's the window of opportunity you got. So finally, Rich, the next slide. Again, we think there's an app to help you with all this stuff, especially what we're talking about here today. And if you'd like more information, just give us a call at MarketSharp at 1-800-335-4254 or visit our website. Technology is neat. It really can help, and we need to leverage it. They say that data is the new currency now, and I believe it. And we got to get our arms around it. So with that, Rich, how about back to you? How about you build a case for the financial sense this all makes, and maybe give some examples of some of the follow-up pieces. So thanks for the time.
Okay, hey, thanks a lot, Tim. For those of you who are not aware, I've been partnered up with Tim now since 2005. It's hard to believe that it's already been, as of this last month, 8 years that we've been doing seminars and webinars together, because it really is a good fit. Like I said, we help companies create content. Tim's company is expert at getting it executed, and without either one, you're really not going to get anything accomplished. So thanks a lot, Tim, for the long-term support and sponsoring these programs. So let's do this. Let's go back to our example that we were talking about before. And let's say that you spend $200 each for leads, okay? Now, I want you to work through this with me. This is getting a little bit technical, but again, if you don't understand this, you say, well, I don't really want to go through the numbers. This is where it all is at. You won't take any action if you don't understand this. So if you spend $200 each for leads, which I think is low, and you currently close 30%, for every 100 leads, you spend $20,000. You with me? $20,000 is $200 times 100 leads. You close 30 deals at a cost of $667 per new acquisition. That's per new customer. My experience is it's actually much closer to $1,000 and oftentimes over $1,000, but I'm being very conservative here. Let's say that you're only spending $667 per new customer. If your average sale is $6,000, that's a total of $180,000 in sales, which is about 11%. Does that sound pretty good to you? Most companies would say, yeah, if we have a $6,000 average sale and we're spending $20,000 of that, 11%, that sounds pretty good. Now let's look at your numbers a little bit differently. You've already allocated that entire $20,000 budget towards those 30 sales. This is critical that you think this way. You have 70 unclosed leads, but technically you have $0 invested in them at this point. Now this is where people get jammed up. They say to themselves, well, I don't want to allocate those $20,000 towards the 30 closed sales. I want to allocate them towards these 70 unclosed leads also, because I had to pay to get these leads. They weren't just free. And I'm asking you this. Take these leads that didn't close, the 70, and just treat them as if you don't have any marketing costs invested in them yet at all, none, because we've already allocated it towards the people that did buy, okay? How much would you be willing to spend to close those 70 leads? Well, assume that 10% of those can be converted over the next 12 months, and I'm actually going to change that number from 12 months to 24 months. Let's say 2 years, not even 1 year, 2 years, okay? Does that seem reasonable to you that out of 70 leads that we can close 10% over the next 2 years, not 12 months, 2 years, that's 7 extra sales out of 70 leads. Does this sound reasonable to anybody? That's the first question we've got to ask. And in my experience, this is extraordinarily reasonable. We're not talking about closing half of the unclosed leads. We're not talking about getting 50 out of the 70. We're talking about getting 7 out of the 70. Remember, the reasons they didn't buy, the main reasons, there were several, but the number one reason is it costs more than they were expecting. If you allocate that same $667 that you already gladly spent towards new sales, that would give you a budget of $4,669. Now, do you follow how I came up with this number? I took the 7 extra sales that we hope to get over the next, how long? 2 years, I said. Not 12 months like it says on the screen, but 2 years. And I've multiplied those 7 sales by the amount of money that I already pay to acquire a new customer, which in this example is $667. Now, I already said, in reality, it's typically much higher than $667, but for being conservative sake, let's say $4,669. Remember, these 70 people have already expressed interest in what you sell. They've already invited you to their house. Money spent on them is smarter than money spent on new lead generation. Now, let me be very clear here. I did not just tell you to only spend money on following up and hopper systems, and I did not tell you to spend no money on new lead generation. If you do not have new leads coming into the system, then you won't have anybody to follow up. So you've got to do both. But the point is clear, that the money spent on these 70 is actually smarter than money spent on new lead generation. Why? Because we already know that these people are interested. They already hit that level 10 discontentment on the accelerated discontentment scale. Now, we just got to reel them back in with the marketing program. So how much will it cost? Well, let's run the numbers. If the budget is $4,669, remember that was seven expected closes out of 70 at $667 per prospect, then that gives us $66.70 for each prospect. If it cost us 70 cents each to mail them, we could send 95 postcards. If it only costs 50 cents each, you could send 133 postcards. Now, you might say, well, why the disparity between 50 and 70 cents? Well, that's going to depend heavily on how you actually do it. If you pre-print cards and you buy them in large quantity, it's going to be cheaper. If you do digital printing, it's going to be more expensive. So don't really get bogged down on that. It really isn't that important, because look at it. Even at 70 cents, you can send 95 postcards. 95 postcards. This is what we call wall drugging the prospect. Now, that sounds a little bit devious. Hey, let's go wall drug somebody. It sounds kind of weird. But the truth is, it's the exact same process that makes 70% of the cars stop at wall drug, 20,000 visitors a day. What we're talking about is sending out mailers and some emailers and some phone calls, but I want to talk primarily about mailers. We're talking about sending these out at a high frequency, and I want you to look at the financial model here. Now, for the vast majority of you on this call, you're looking at this and saying, I don't even understand what you're talking about here. You're saying send out 133 postcards? Well, let me state it differently. If you did send out 133 postcards to a given prospect that gave you an opportunity to sell them but did not buy, do you think it's possible that 7 out of the 70 would buy from you with that level of robust follow-up? And the answer is yes. Yes. Now, I'm not saying, hey, go send 133 postcards. I'm saying your budget would clearly allow it. What if you only sent 50 postcards instead of 95? Or what if you only sent 25 or 10? Or what if you sent 0 postcards? And you say, well, why would I send a postcard? Postcard, you know, postcard's weak. Who's going to read a postcard? Let me tell you about postcards. There is a phenomenon in mailing that's called left-hand, right-hand, trash can. That's what I call it. Left-hand, right-hand, trash can. Here's what that means. When somebody gets their mail and they sort through it, they go from left hand, they put it in their right hand, they decide what to do, and very likely they throw it in the trash can, or if they're environmentally conscious, they throw it in the recycling. Okay? Left hand, right hand, trash can. But if we create powerful messages, and I'm going to show you them here in just a second, it's the very next thing we're going to do, then guess what happens? As it goes from left hand to right hand to trash can, we hit them with that message. We remind them of why they had pain enough in the first place to call you, and we push them closer and closer to discontentment. And I'm telling you this, these postcards have got to be sent frequently. My recommendation is at a bare minimum every 2 weeks. That's 25 a year. Or more likely every single week, 50 per year. We've got the budget for it. I just proved it to you. Let's talk about messaging. We're going to spend all this money. We need to make sure that we've got good messaging. We need to know, we know that the prospect has a need. We don't need to focus much on that. So in other words, we don't have to tell them, hey, wouldn't you like to remodel your kitchen? They already know that. We want to focus on the reasons why they should do business with us. We want to focus on why we're the best choice so that when they do say, yeah, I'm ready to buy, I understand, they're going to come back to you. Some people will cynically say, well, they'll just come back to me anyway because I'm better. But I'm telling you, if it's 6 months or 12 months or 18 months, they're going to forget who you are. Oh, no, they'll never forget us. I'm telling you, they'll forget. So let's talk about identity, and then I'm going to show you some examples, okay? This is a critical concept for all marketing, not just Rehash or follow-up or hopper systems, but for all marketing, for websites, for lead generation, for advertising, for pre-positioning. This concept is critical and it's key. So I want to show it to you very quickly, and then I'm going to show you how to implement it into these follow-up postcards, okay? So this is a case study of a remodeling company. They've been in business for 25 years, really good at what they did. The customers loved them. It wasn't a one-man show, but it was one guy that owned a remodeling company, and he had his subcontractors, the same crews that he'd worked with for years. You know the kind of guy I'm talking about. Really good at what he did, has a fanatical need to get things done right for his clients. He was basically OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Not really, but essentially. Sweats every little detail, refuses to allow anything that's not to his exacting standards. So the premise of this guy's identity is that I'm a remodeler with exacting standards who will do everything right. That's his identity. Okay? Fair enough? So here's what we found when we started doing business with this guy. He had a website that looks like the one on your screen, which is not that great. Let's see, make sure that that thing gets on your screen. Okay, so here's what we've got. Don Isaacson, welcome to Revive's website for information on your next home improvement remodeling. It doesn't look that great. The content isn't that great. We strive to make your remodeling experience not just satisfactory, but to exceed your expectations from start to finish. We communicate with you to ensure your understanding of all the phases of your remodel. Our team is respectful to your home and takes every measure to remove debris and leave the job site. And this is just the usual kind of stuff. If you remember the cartoon of Charlie Brown, the holiday specials, remember when Charlie Brown's mother or a teacher would talk to the kids? Wah, 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 wah. That's what this sounds like. There's no power, there's no precision, there's no passion, and it shows in this website. So we talked to him. We found out the things that I showed you on the previous slide. We created a website that looked more like this. Are you persnickety, demanding, hard to please, picky? Then I'm the remodeler for you. I'm not the fastest. I'm not the cheapest. I am, however, according to my customers, the best. In remodeling, it's all about the details, and I'm obsessed with them. Why? Because I'd rather do things right than right now. It takes time to do things properly, and I refuse to compromise quality for speed. I'm not the fastest, and I'm not the cheapest contractor around, but according to my customers, I exceed their expectations with the final result. He's got free estimates. His reviews are on here, his references, compare contractors, his portfolio. This is a very powerful, robust website. It works. It integrates his identity. It allows a prospect to quickly and easily see with power, passion, and precision who he is, why he's different, why he's better, and what a customer can expect when doing business with him. Okay? Then we take this and we put it into print ads. Are you anxious to get the job done? Are you anxious to get the job done right? I could honestly care less if you have a list of 3 remodelers who are cheaper than me. This is an ad that we might run in a magazine that gets mailed out to the homes in the service area that he's in. We take a little longer. We cost a little more, but wait until you see the final result. Home shows. We put this into the banners. Persnickety, demanding, hard to please, and I'm the remodeler for you. We're not the fastest. We're not the cheapest. We are, however, according to our customers, the best. Okay? We put this into the flyers. We put this into the pop-up banners that he uses at the home shows. Everything that we do for this particular remodeler has this identity. It allows the prospect to understand who he is, what he does, what they can expect when doing business with him. Okay? It's in the gift cards. It's in the pre-positioning emails. The pre-positioning email says, most remodelers hate dealing with high-maintenance customers who complain about wanting every little thing a certain way. Those are the only kind I get along with. And it goes on to explain this. Okay, so this is the identity. Now, we want to take your identity and put it into your home shows, pre-positioning ads, websites, mailers, phone scripts, everything. And so we do that, right? Whoops, wrong way. We put it into the flyers, the home shows, the website, the advertisements. But now let's talk about putting it into these follow-up systems. And when Tim talks about sending the mailers and sending the emailers, we can easily adjust these to be in an email format, but I'm going to show them to you in postcard format. Remember the concept of left hand, right hand, trash can. What I'm trying to accomplish is this. When they take this and put it in their left hand, I want you to see, as you look at this, that the prospect is going to be interrupted by this, and it's going to make an impact. I shut down the job site in disgust, ripped out the entire floor, and started over again from scratch. When they flip it over, me and not done exactly right don't get along very well. If I have to choose between profit and perfection, I'll choose perfection every single time. This is a postcard. Now imagine that the prospect had you out. It was a $60,000 kitchen. They were only thinking $30,000 or $40,000. They liked you, but they wanted to wait. This comes the next week. Then the next week, your remodeling job done right. Dang it. Don't worry, this crankiness is directed at my work crews, not you. If you consider hiring Revive, consider yourself forewarned. I'm kind of a jerk to be around. For some reason, the good Lord saw fit to make me a perfectionist of the worst kind. Everything has to be 100% right all of the time, or I get grouchy. If something's a millimeter out of place or a hundredth of a shade off color, I get irritated. Okay? Then the next week, most remodelers hate dealing with high-maintenance customers who complain about wanting every little thing a certain way. Those are the only kind I get along with. If you want whatever, call a cookie-cutter contractor. If you demand absolute unqualified perfection, I'm reminding them of why they called me in the first place. I'm reminding them of who they want to do business with. I'm making their current kitchen situation seem worse. I'm accelerating their discontentment. Every time I touch them with this postcard, it reminds them that, oh my gosh, we didn't do it. We ought to take action on that. Man, my kitchen really is bad. If we don't send these, guess what happens? The law of 9,344 starts to set in. I call it the Chuck E. Cheese principle. I've got 6 kids. They're getting a little bit older now, but when they were little, if they wanted to go to Chuck E. Cheese, they'd come and say, Dad, take us to Chuck E. Cheese, take us to Chuck E. Cheese. And what do you say as a dad? You say, no, I don't want to go to Chuck E. Cheese. I hate that place. And if the kids never asked you again, chances are 100% you'd never go to Chuck E. Cheese, but kids don't operate like that. They come back later. Can we please go to Chuck E. Cheese? Please, we'll clean our room. I got good grades. Can we go to Chuck E. Cheese? And after a while, after a day, 2 days, 3 days, they keep asking you 15, 20 times. You threaten them. If you say the word Chuck E. Cheese, I promise you I'll never take you there again as long as you live. But they're kids, so they're persistent, and they keep asking. And finally, it becomes less painful to go to Chuck E. Cheese than to listen to your kids talk about going to Chuck E. Cheese. We're doing the same thing. We're not trying to be annoying. What we're trying to do is just keep in front of their face, keep letting them know why they like us, why they chose us, why they want to do business with us, why they didn't choose the $30,000 remodeler and put it off and waited for us. You say, well, they'll just come back to us naturally, and I'm telling you, if you don't continue to remind them frequently, they won't. Their accelerated discontentment won't kick in. It'll take them longer to come back. This is the way to accelerate it, to get them back faster and to make absolutely 100% sure that they come to you and nobody else is even considered when they're ready to move. They know how much it costs. You've just got to wait for the incident, and you've got to wait for the budget, right? Just like we talked about earlier. Then the next week, persnickety, demanding, hard to please, picky, that I'm the right remodeler for you. Then the next week, one time I shut down a remodeling job for 3.5 hours while I scoured 6 different suppliers for the exact right cabinet handles. And now we have a principle called confirmation bias that starts to kick in. And the person sees this postcard and they say, yeah, that's the guy I'm going to do business with. Man, as soon as I'm ready, this is the guy. And you put them right there in your corner. And they start to champion you, and they start to see these, and they start to like them, and they start to be excited about them. And now you're just waiting for them to have the incident that pushes them over the top and or for their budget to be in place. And if you don't send these, I'm telling you, it's chance. It is pure gambling. Don't gamble. This seems like the gamble to some people. Well, I got to spend this money. Who knows what they're going to call? I'm telling you, this is not gambling. This is making sure that you get the results you want, okay? Meet the most persnickety man. If you pay $43,000 for a new kitchen, you're not 1,000% thrilled. Don't come crying to me because there's a 0% chance that I did the job. Our thrilled customer rate isn't even 100% because I insist every detail is 100% right 100% of the time. I was shocked and embarrassed when I found out remodeling was America's #1 most complained about industry. Who do you trust to remodel your kitchen? Ask for proof, not just their word. Our last BBB complaint was never. See how this works? Do you really want the cheapest bidder remodeling your kitchen? truth is you don't want the second lowest bidder either. Introducing the ultimate in remodeling peace of mind. If you're not 1,000% thrilled with your kitchen or bathroom remodeling project, we'll refund your money and restore your kitchen to its original condition. Introducing the industry's only money-back guarantee. This is powerful stuff. There's a reason remodeling contractors can't be trusted. Who do you trust to remodel your kitchen? 3 measly references for a remodeling project that might cost $15,000 to $40,000? We'll give you references for every single job we've ever completed. In fact, here's as many as would fit on this one page. How to make a $40,000 dream kitchen makeover turn into a $57,000 disaster. Step 1, hire a contractor. Okay? You see what we're doing? We're hitting them again and again and again and again, and next week and the week after and the week after and the week after and the week after and the week after. And after a while they say, man, I cannot wait until I can do business with these guys. It's so awesome. Here's the best book on marketing ever written. It's called Green Eggs and Ham. Green Eggs and Ham. You remember this book? By definition, the word, the green eggs and ham represents something that doesn't look immediately palatable, something that you don't necessarily want to buy. When you came out to their house and they said no, they looked at it and said, well, we like it, but it's green eggs and ham. We're not going to do it. And in the story, the guy's name is Sam I Am. And he goes to the prospect and he says, would you like some green eggs and ham? And the guy says, no, I don't want any green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam I Am. And instead of coming back with the exact same sales approach, he comes back and says, well, how about here or there? And he says, I don't want them here, I don't want them there, I don't want them anywhere. I don't like green eggs and ham. He comes back the next day and he says, what about in a house or with a mouse? And he says, I don't want them with a house, I don't want them with a mouse, I don't want them here, I don't want them there, I don't want them anywhere, I don't like green eggs and ham. Well, what about in a box or with a fox or in a rain or with the train? And he finally says, look, I don't care about rain or train or fox or box or house or mouse or here or there or anywhere. I don't like green eggs and ham. And finally, after enough attempts with different messages from different angles every time, the prospect says, you know what, I'll try it. And he loves it. And he says, I would eat this in the rain with the train or the house and the mouse and the fox and the box and here. I would eat it anywhere. I love this. I love green eggs and ham. Thank you, Sam I Am. And this is how your prospects will feel if you continue to reach out. They will thank you because you're doing them a service, not bothering, not annoying. This is not gambling. Gambling is doing nothing. Nothing is the absolute worst thing you could do. It's dumb. It makes no sense. Run your numbers. Let me just run you through. I'm just going to put these on the screen without a lot of commentary. We don't have any time left, so I'm just going to show you these quickly. This is for a window company. You hit them out. They say no for whatever reason. You hit them again. You hit them again. And you hit them again. I'm not leaving until you agree to buy my replacement windows. I don't care if it takes all night. Do you know how most remodeling contractors have a bad reputation? Well, they earned it. And we talk about how we don't have high sales pressure. Relax. Window quotes in 59 minutes. You don't need 2.5 hours. And we let people know this. And we hit them again and again. How much should you pay for good replacement windows? And we tell them the right answer. I don't want your dang replacement windows. You've been here nearly 3 hours. Just leave already. And, you know, we hit whatever the identity is for the company. You know, I showed you an identity for a remodeling company. That's not your identity. You're going to have your own identity. We work with companies as a part of our program to help them figure out what their identity is. We write it for them, put it into a website, and then put it into all these other marketing materials. I'm just going to tell you straight up, it's really hard to do yourself if you're not an expert at marketing. Most of you probably aren't. You're probably good at sales. You're probably good at installing remodeling projects, but you're probably not real great at marketing. This is an area that we excel in. Okay? And I'm just kind of flipping through these quickly so you can see that we take the identity of the company and we just keep hitting the prospect over and over and over. What about email and phone follow-up? Email is great because it's cheap, but people don't really like getting a lot of email follow-ups. You've got to be careful with it. Recommend 2 times per month at the most. But even people that get your emails don't necessarily see them. You know that whole left-hand, right-hand trash can? People, even if they see a good subject line, don't necessarily open it because they just kind of become attuned to it. We write these emails as a part of our Hopper Systems package. We got 15 emails and 10 postcards that we put in this package for our customers. Phone calls can be effective, but you must limit the frequency to no more than once every 6 months or so. It's okay to follow up, but you want to have some kind of a specific offer and make sure that you keep it to a minimum. Keep the do not call list in mind as well, okay? Now, let's wrap up with this, and then I'm going to show you some things that you can do, and then we're going to give away the book, okay, and the CD program. It's a good idea, but I can almost guarantee you won't do it. Here's why. Most people think that if they can't close the deal right away, that it's not closable. Think about your own personal buying behavior. There are things that you look at that you don't buy, and it doesn't mean that you're broke and stupid as a consumer. It means that you just decided not to, okay? But people in this industry that have a hardcore sales background feel like, well, if we couldn't close it, then it wasn't a closable deal, and it's not true. They think that if they won't even call back, that they're not a genuine prospect. So in other words, you call back as a rehash, and you can't get them to call back, so you feel like, well, they're not going to call me back. It's not true. But here's the main reason, is the system's not going to feel like it's working very well. If 7 out of 70 prospects buy over the course of 2 years, that's just one sale every couple of months. So this is more of a slow nurture kind of a program. And so most people don't like that. You keep spending money sending out the postcards. Most people would rather spend their money where it gets a bigger, quicker, more visible hit. It's the difference between hunting and farming, and I'm going to encourage you strongly to start to transform part of your marketing budget into farming activities. Not just, hey, I spent money, I've got to get a lead now, I've got to get a lead now, I've got to get a lead now. That's hunting. It's okay, but here's where you grow wealth in this industry, is by developing marketing that allows you to hunt, that allows you to plant crops that you can harvest in the future so that your sales for 2014 and 2015 are already being nurtured right now. If you show up in 2014 with a spear and you go hunting, I hope you catch something. I hope you catch something. But you need to start farming now. I say do both, okay? If you roll 70 prospects a month into your hopper system after 1 year, you'd have 800 prospects minus any that, buy. You take them off the list. You'd start to average 3 to 10 sales a month from that. When people finally get ready, they will seek you out as the obvious choice. The concept of accelerated discontentment is true. That's what it'll do. It'll make people want to buy, not just sooner, but from you, okay? Oh, I don't need to see that. All right, let's talk about what you can expect, okay? What kind of response should you expect? Whoops. If you send out 1 postcard per week for 2 years, here's what you hope will happen. You hope that the number of responses over time goes up and off the charts. But in reality, here's what's going to happen. It's going to look more like this. It's going to be low for a while, and then it's going to start to go up over time. This is, by definition, a farming activity, okay? The reason it's not going to spike up quickly is because these people have a specific reason that they did not buy. Remember? The main reason was the timing was poor because it costs more than we thought. It's going to take me some time to wrap my arms around it. You've got to justify and let them save the money. So here's what's going to happen. You get a little bump at the beginning, and then over time it's going to be pretty low, and then it's going to start to build up, okay? This is the kind of response you should expect. Now, let me just tell you quickly about doing business with Monopolize Your Marketplace. I'm going to go to our website here for just a second and show you a couple of things, and then I'm going to go back to the slideshow presentation. This is the homepage at mymonline.com. If you come to our homepage, you see that we've got some articles and things over here, but what I want to direct your attention to is over here on the right-hand side, there's a yellow drop-down menu under what it says Remodelers. And if you go to Remodelers, I want you to go to the second one down that says Bonus Package. And I'm going to show you some things that we can help you do, okay? And we're going to be wrapped up here in just about 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'm going to do the last poll and give away the CD program. So thanks for hanging in there with me. If you go to the bonus package page on mymonline.com, here's what you'll see. It talks about doing business with MYM. Let us create your identity, integrated online and advertising and everywhere, including Hopper Systems follow-up. It lists our conditions of accepting new clients, customers that are high-performing contractors that understand the MYM concepts. They have the ability to grow. They have implementation ability. They have staff that can work on this. And they have the money to not just pay for our services, but to actually roll these things out. It doesn't do you any good to have a hopper system if you can't actually spend the money to mail the things out. So you've got to be able to do that, okay? If you look down here in Section 2, it shows some of our services available. We have an MYM Insider program, and the MYM Insider program, excuse me, is an ongoing training program where we have webinars up to 6 times a month on every marketing topic you can imagine. We have webinars where you can send in your marketing for us to review it live, and you can also get offline staff reviews. We've got over 400 archived webinars on every marketing topic you can imagine. We also give you tremendous discounts on our fulfillment services. So that's the MYM Insider Training Program. We charge $4,990 a year for that. But over here you'll see with the fulfillment packages, we give preferential pricing to our insider members. So for instance, an identity, if you want us to create an identity for your company, it's $2,000. Unless you're an insider member, then it's only $1,500. It's cheaper, okay? But you can see we've got various fulfillment packages from pre-positioning to building websites, SEO, creating a mobile website, pay-per-click management. On the right-hand side, you'll see we've got things like home show packages. I showed you a little bit of that earlier. And here's one you'll see right here, Past Prospect Hopper System. Past Prospect Hopper System includes 10 postcards and 15 emails customized specifically for you, designed and laid out and ready to go. We charge our members $2,500 for that, our non-members $3,000 for that. It's a lot of work for us to put that together. We've got to spend time with you to really understand your business, what makes you tick, and be able to write these into the postcards and the emails. You also see that we've got past customer hopper packages, new mover packages, radio advertising package, and you can mouse over any of those to get a feel for what's included with those. Down at the bottom of this section, on Section 3, you'll see what's called the bonus packages. We've got an Essentials package, a Monopolizer package, and a No Prisoners package. For sake of time, I want to just show you this. The Monopolized package is our most popular package. It includes Insider program for 2 years, 6 months of bonus Insider program. Also, we do the identity included, pre-positioning included, website content and build a website for you with your identity included, mobile website included, update your website unlimited for 2 years included, SEO included, setup and maintenance. We also give you bonus cash, which is $3,000 that you can spend like Monopoly money off of the list above, okay? So back here on fulfillment packages, if you wanted us to do the Past Prospect Hopper System, that's $2,500, you could spend your bonus cash on that, okay? The bonus package, the value is $47,270. We sell it for $1,999 down, $1,999 down, and $499 a month for 29 months. It's extraordinarily affordable. It's actually insanely inexpensive, but we've systematized our processes over here to be able to do this for you at a very affordable price. If you're interested in that, you just click Purchase here, or more likely, if you need to talk to us more about that, then you can call us at this number or click here, or I'm showing you on the screen at the bottom right-hand corner to schedule an appointment to talk about this. Now, if you will call or schedule an appointment, if you click to schedule an appointment, it'll bring up a calendar. If you will do that today, not tomorrow, not the next day, if you will do that today, and you end up becoming a member of our program, we have a special bonus. Here's how you sign up for the appointment. Just click on this page. It'll bring you right here. Okay, make a new appointment, and then continue, and you'll see it brings up a calendar. It takes just a second here. But if you'll do this today, if you will sign up today for an appointment, you don't have to buy today, but you have to sign up today for the appointment, then we will give you for free, on top of this package that I just showed you, on top of the package, we will give you the Hopper System package for free. Okay? Let me roll through this and just show it to you. Okay, free Hopper System, 10 postcards, 15 emails, normally $2,500 for our members. To receive the free Hopper System, schedule an appointment today, must purchase the Monopolized package. So if you don't purchase the package, you end up not doing business with us, then the offer doesn't stand. But if you do have an interest in this, and you're thinking, geez, this might be something I want to do, set the appointment today. We'll confirm it with you. And then if it works out that you end up doing business with us, on top of the $3,000 bonus cash, we'll give you the Hopper System package, which we talked about today, absolutely free. Okay, it's an unbelievable offer. We've never made this offer before, and quite frankly, Brian Bauman, who is our head of client acquisition, talked me into this before the webinar. He said, hey, I want a really strong offer to get people to be willing to talk to me. I said, okay, great. We'll do it. Let's take the last poll, and then we're going to give away the book. Thanks for sticking with me. I see that the vast majority of you have stayed with me this whole time. I know it's a long webinar. We're going to take the last poll right now. Here it is. It says, please contact me with information about, and then you can just choose. So I'll give you just a second to to fill those out right now. Monopolize Your Marketplace, Market Sharp, First General Services, Bath Wraps, Gutter Covers International, any of these that you'd like to have more information about, just go ahead and check that off, and these people will be in touch with you. I'll give you just a second to do this. Go ahead. Okay, I need more people to participate. We've got a smaller than normal percentage of people participating. Okay, there it goes. It's going up. Okay. Please fill it out. Now, for those of you who are checking off Monopolize Your Marketplace, we will contact you, but do yourself a favor. If you're interested in getting that free hopper system like I just talked about, you will need to go ahead and go online and schedule that appointment, and we'll talk to you that way. Okay, I'm going to give you just 10 more seconds to vote. Okay, hey, thanks so much for supporting our sponsors. We got good, strong interest in a lot of our sponsors. We really appreciate that. Without the sponsors, we don't have a webinar. So if you enjoyed this content, like I said earlier, please go ahead and let them know via email. And you'll be hearing from some of those for the ones that you expressed interest in. So thank you for that. And we will go ahead and give the last book and CD away. And if you've made it this far, we appreciate that. And Judy, can you tell us who's going to win the last book and then the CD set, please?
Sure can. Last book is Jack Hassel with A Very Fine Home in Rochester, New York. And the CD set, Rich, goes to Rob Blaney, All-Pro West Virginia in Fairmont, West Virginia.
Okay, thanks to you. Thank you, Judy, for conducting that drawing. Thanks to everybody who participated. And most especially, thank you to our sponsors who made this webinar possible. We'll be reaching out to you if you expressed interest from the various sponsors. And we'll be in Baltimore next month at a live seminar. If you'd like to come out to that, contact your sponsor. Or in 2 months, we'll be back with another webinar in this same series. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you then. Bye now.
The organizer has